Emisión.net.
Hello again, welcome to Letter from England, broadcasting for AC Press and the Spanish Evangelical Alliance. The party leaving the church, well, could be a wedding, could be a christening, could even be a funeral party. Because more and more Spaniards are celebrating these key moments in their lives away from the Catholic Church, where traditionally they've held them. Fewer church weddings and more children born out of wedlock. More town hall weddings. Parties for children becoming teenagers instead of the rigmarole, and I say rigmarole because of the razzmatazz often attached to the First Communion celebration. And all kinds of farewell ceremonies for those who die. Well, all a part of a new social trend in 21st century Spain. Hitherto, Spaniards, even though they might otherwise never or rarely darken the doors of a church, and certainly not keep to Catholic teaching in their lives, continued to marry, christen, take First Communion, and have their funerals in the Catholic Church. The stats encouraged the Catholic hierarchy to insist that they kept their enormously privileged position in society. But now fewer and fewer of those who claim to be Catholic are interested in keeping the sacraments, never mind, of course, those who don't even claim to be Catholic. Now, various reasons for the changing pattern may be adduced. Alternatives to church weddings have become more attractive to some. A rising divorce rate puts others off marriage altogether. And a new generation of youngsters is growing up in a post-Catholic Spain, where celebrating key events in their lives in a Catholic church simply doesn't come on the radar. It never enters their thoughts. In the year 2006, over 44% of weddings were civil ceremonies. That's a huge jump, up from just 24% in the year 2000. And in 4 regions of Spain now, there are now more civil weddings than religious ones. In Catalonia, for instance, the percentage of civil weddings has reached 62.5%. Add to that fewer people are actually getting married. The rate has come down from 5.7% in 1980 to 4.7% in 2006, while the percentage of children born outside marriage rises each year, up to 26% of the total in 2005. Well, all this is a huge change from the 1960s, when Franco's regime only recognized Catholic church weddings. Civil weddings were considered inferior and only allowed if the couple could demonstrate that they were not Catholics. Since 1981, though, there's been complete freedom for a couple to choose how they will get married, and civil ceremonies have begun to acquire their own glamour, as couples can now get married on board a yacht, in a castle, within a crown of flowers laid out on a beach, or in the impressive gardens of a palace. A legal registrar, the mayor, a local councillor, or some such, covers the state's requirements, while friends and families read out poems and talk about the bride and groom. We really are in the age of the do-it-yourself wedding. And of course this cascades down into other events as well. Do-it-yourself funerals, where the family really decide what they want to include in the service. Meanwhile, other church ceremonies are in steep decline too. Christenings have fallen by 8 percentage points as a proportion of the total number of births in just 4 years. In 2005, only 57% of babies born were christened in the Catholic Church. People in some parts of Spain can now choose a civil dedication ceremony at their local town hall, which almost sounds evangelical. The Catholic Church sees this, of course, as an attack on their rights, R-I-T-E-S, though perhaps R-I-G-H-T-S is in mind as well. But such ceremonies, whether they like it or not, are gaining in popularity. Well, so much for the social trends and how they affect the Catholic Church, which, to all intents and purposes, has been and perhaps in many ways still remains the state church, or at least the church most closely associated with the state. How does all this affect the evangelical church? Well, To a lesser degree, a much lesser degree, of course, evangelical ministers are put under some pressure to do these events in church, to marry people or dedicate their babies or take their funerals. And there is sometimes pressure from the families to include things with which the ministers are uncomfortable. And some evangelical ministers, of course, would like to retain a word-centered ceremony, that the Bible is to the fore and that God is glorified. And there's sometimes tension, perhaps over some of the items which families wish to include. But it is also an opportunity for evangelicals to remain distinctive in the way they carry out these ceremonies. And in the marketplace of ideas and of services these days, perhaps there is an opportunity for evangelicals to not exactly tap into the market, but offer a particularly God-centered celebration of a couple making their vows, of a child entering the world, or of someone leaving it. Food for thought then, as we face a new century with very different social trends from just a few years ago. Thank you for listening to Letter from England, which broadcasts at emission.net each week. Goodbye for now.
Emisión.net